Protecting the future of working families, Teamsters1932.org.
Feeling good, like I should. When in dark, I walk around the neighborhood. Feeling blessed, never stressed. Got that sunshine on my Sunday best.
Welcome back, everybody. Happy Sunday. You're listening to Whatever Works on KCAA 1050 AM and Express 106.5 FM. I'm your host, Sam Works.
I'm Kyle Kerrigan.
And tonight we kind of have a full house, so we don't really have a guest, but, you know, we got a couple people here in the studio. Hey. Mr. Westwood, we got Joe, our board op, and Ken, obviously. So, enjoying a Tartan burger. For those of you who don't know what a Tartan burger is, you got to go check it out. Tartan Redlands. I'm off of State Street, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Bicycle Classic.
Yeah, the Bicycle Classic this weekend. Very packed, very crowded, hard to find parking, but still, I mean, this restaurant just brings the best food in town. So,
yeah, 100%.
actually, they were serving free burgers at the cycle thing to this weekend. Yeah.
Huh.
So we had like half the team, you know, run down at the restaurant, and the other half out there actually, you know, cooking burgers out there and hand them out to all the people who just wanted some. So, excuse me. I heard it was a pretty good turnout. There was also a pretty good turnout this weekend. What's the title of the Spring Fling Classic Car Show?
1932 car show.
Yeah, car show from the Teamsters.
Okay.
That was yesterday?
Yesterday.
Yeah.
Honestly, it feels like a few days ago, to be honest. It was like a long day. You know, we had a lot of stuff happen throughout this whole week. So,
Yeah.
yeah. But anyways, before we get to any topics, Kyle, you know what time it is.
Our sponsor is S&J Radio. No negative news, no politics, just feel good music.
All right. And then what about Class City?
Class City Entertainment, your local stop for free music.
Yep. And if you guys want to go back and listen to any of our previous shows, you can find us basically on anywhere. You just look up
KCAA, whatever works, on all social media. All one word.
Yep.
KCAA, whatever works. Or you can go to YouTube, KCAA TV, and you can find us on Sunday nights at 4.
Yeah.
And
So-
our older shows, 7.
Yeah, older shows at 7. And I don't know which shows are better, the ones at 7 o'clock, the one at 4 o'clock. I mean, we just have amazing guests every time when we bring one.
It's true.
Our guest last week was very awesome. He's a cool dude.
Yeah.
He knows how to perform. He knows how to, you know, be on the air. And
Don Jesse.
Don Jesse.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a cool cat. I highly recommend going back and listening to that one. He does genre hopping. So he's an artist. Also, he does videos and audio. He does the whole nine. He's the full package as himself, you know.
Yeah.
You know what's funny, actually? So I get a text from one of my coworkers, and he was like, "Hey, what's your show? Blah, blah, blah. I want to watch you like on YouTube." So I sent him the one with Don Jesse. And then I also found out that someone's grandma stalks me, okay? She wants to know all about me. And she knew I did real estate, so she looked me up for the real estate stuff. And then she found out we had our show. So then she started watching like multiple of our shows, dude.
What did she think?
And the feedback was, I think Sam, he loves himself too much or something. Like, he really loves him. I was like, my response to that was like, well, I hope your grandma loves herself just as much as I love myself, you know?
That's a good answer.
You know what I mean? Like, I hope she's not hating on it, you know?
Yeah.
And so every now and again, I always get these little like whispers of like, hey, I heard your show or this or that.
Yeah.
And, you know, working out at Tartan, being a server, like, you know, they always ask you like, oh, you going to school? Like, what else are you doing? And you know, the show always pops up. And so I kind of get that publicity there. I'm like, oh, well, you can tune in. Actually, I get off in about an hour if I make it. You know what I mean? Like, you can listen to it live.
Yeah.
And so I think there's only one time where I was stuck at work and I couldn't make it to the show. But, yeah, dude, the Sunday 4 o'clock show, it's awesome. I enjoy it. You know, hopefully we get more listeners. And the listeners that do, you know, they're new. And hopefully the ones at 7 o'clock, start following us at 4. So
Yeah,
yeah, it's a good time.
definitely. There's a lot of listeners. I hope they said that they're listening at the casino.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the casino's a good spot for that.
yeah. I've been marketing our show to all the workers,
Hmm.
everyone I meet.
Yeah,
We got to update our business cards with a new address.
that is true. That is true. Yeah, there's
And
a lot of things that happen throughout the year.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, but I feel like this year, 2025, even though we're in April, like it's going by pretty slow. There's so many events that have happened
Yeah.
just within the few months, and especially for me in my life, like, I was telling someone today, like, I want to say a few months ago, so let's just say the beginning of January, I'll pray for like clarity in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I just have so much stuff going on, left and right, and like my mind is always running. And, in a sense, God answered my prayer, maybe not the way I wanted it to, you know what I mean? But he definitely gave me clarity because
Yeah.
I'm no longer doing real estate. So that took a lot of stress off me,
Right.
physically and mentally. And on top of that, the car rental business, that's soon to close. I don't know if you even heard about it, but
No.
found out this week, basically. And so now it's like, when people used to ask me, like, what do you do? I used to get excited. I'm like, like, I didn't want to tell them everything, but I'm just like, I'm a little entrepreneur. I do my thing. But now it's like, oh, I'm serving,
Yeah.
And so now it's like, it's almost like a new chapter in life. It's almost like quarter life crisis. You're 25. What are you going to do now? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you did all this in the past. Now it's time to look in the future. And
Yeah.
I'm honestly kind of excited.
Yeah.
Because now I have more opportunities. I remember when I accepted my friend's hand to, do this car rental business, that I wasn't going to leave California. I wasn't going to do this. Like, I'm stuck here. I'm dedicated to this. We're going to grow it out. And I was like, there was moments in my time where like, oh, I should probably go back to school, this and this. I would like to go back to school.
Yeah.
But the car rental business was taking a lot of my time. I was like, I want to be able to be in class because in the car, this or that. And then also like real estate too. Like real estate, there's a lot of people in real estate who put 110% and barely have results. It is so hard, especially in today's economy and like just what's going on around, the world and just real estate in general. Like it's tough out there,
Right.
And so I had to make my own decisions in life to really like take a step back and be like, okay,
Sometimes you got to take a step back to take steps forward.
yes, sir. You know what's crazy? I actually, a few months ago, I broke out in hives, like all over my body, right?
I think I remember that.
Yeah. And my doctor was like, oh, it's because
The stress, right?
of stress. And I was like, well, mentally, I don't feel like I'm stressed. But the doctor was like, you're just like numb to it, but your
Yeah.
body's reacting to it. I was like, that's crazy. And, I get it all the time, stop and smell the roses. You need to take a break,
Yeah.
relax. But it was so hard. I was telling my dad that even going on vacation, like the hardest thing to do is like be at work and focus on work, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then be on vacation and just enjoy your vacation. Like,
Yeah.
I'm a victim of it. Like when I'm at work, I'm thinking like, man, I need a vacation. Or when I'm at vacation, I'm like, man, when I come back, like I got so much stuff to do,
Yeah, it's hard to turn your brain off.
It is.
Yeah.
Or maybe not turn it off, but like wire it the right way.
Right.
You know what I mean? When you're at work, you think about work. When you're on vacation, don't think about work. You're on vacation. You know what I mean? And I was telling my dad, I was like, every time I go on vacation, I get like not anxiety, but I'm always thinking about when I come back. There's
Yeah.
so many things I got to do. And it's almost like you shouldn't take a vacation because you got so much to do. I actually know somebody. I actually know someone who has so much responsibilities that he physically cannot take a vacation.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, yeah, I know people like that.
Yeah. And it's hard,
It is.
especially when it's not just you that's affected. It's a lot of people around you, Yeah. This guy that I'm referring to, no, I'm just kidding. So it's hard, but you do have to take time to, smell the roses, as you may say.
Yeah.
I get that a lot. And at first I was like, nah, I'm good.
Nah, I'm good.
You know what I mean?
I don't know.
I'll smell the roses when I get older,
Yeah.
But I think like one of the things, like when people,
Smell the roses when you're young enough to smell them.
that's
Not
true.
True, yeah.
Well, I have a bad nose. I think everyone knows that. But I don't even like roses. I don't even like the smell of roses. Let me tell you a story. So,
Roses have thorns.
no, it was in middle school, right? And these people came in, whatever, big old class thing, and they were like, okay, we need some volunteers. So, I volunteered, and they're like, okay, we're going to blindfold you. And there was like 4 other people. They blindfold all of us, and they're like, oh, we're talking about our senses, right?
Yeah.
So they're like, all right, we're going to give you things to smell, and then you're going to tell us what you think they are. And they passed one object. I was like, okay, thinking. And then, because I'm blind, I don't see it, right? But they gave me a bouquet of roses. Maybe it was just flowers. I think it was roses. And when I smelled it, I was like, oh, I hate that smell. I was like, oh, that smells disgusting. Like, it just triggered me. I was like, I don't like that smell. And then everyone started laughing, And then when I found out it was roses, I was like, oh, that's kind of crazy, I don't like the smell of roses.
Yeah.
And then it got worse because then they were like, oh, now your next sense is like touch, right? Well, they gave me like,
This was a school thing?
yeah, this was a middle
This sounds like a lawsuit waiting to happen.
honestly, right? Well, they handed me like a plunger, like a toilet plunger.
What?
I'm pretty sure it was new. I don't think it was used. You know what I mean?
I hope
but
not.
like everyone was laughing because I'm over here like really just like trying to feel around it. You know what I mean? Trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
It's very, very interesting. Yeah, you kite the schools for sure. So, anywho, that's my story.
Yeah, I don't know how to follow up with that, really.
But kind of like died off right there. It's like, okay, well, anyways, Oh, but what I was gonna say was, when you like ages and go on vacation, they always say like when you're young, you should go to like the Asian countries or like the islands on vacation because it's a lot of like hiking, outdoor stuff, and then when you get older, travel more to like the Europe or things like that because it's like less physical. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And so my sister, she kind of like, she took that trail and she went to like the Philippines, she went to Japan, and she's doing, all these countries have like these amazing like views and hikes. She went to Thailand, and, ooh, I gotta sneeze. But as you get older, I mean, I'm sure like when you go to Europe, it's more like history and more like the architecture and stuff. So you kind of like appreciate it more than if you're just like a kid and you're like running around the streets,
Right.
So I haven't traveled much in my life, but I definitely do have some plans.
Yeah, same here.
I know you travel around like the world.
Yeah.
You go crazy.
Oh, yeah, no, I've been around. I'm planning a South Africa trip in 2 years.
Oh,
or
2
3
years.
years.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty good idea. I mean, at least like planning ahead this far,
Well, it's a lot of money for one. And two,
Is it?
I got to accrue enough vacation for me to go.
Yeah, that's true. That's
so,
true. I mean, you just started your new job, right?
yeah, I just started.
How's that going?
It's going pretty good. It's the same thing I did before. So I trained for like less weeks than I had to. And I went straight back into it.
Oh, did anyone like welcome you back or like recognize
Yeah, there's a
you?
lot of people I still recognize. There's a lot of people that's new too.
You walk into the building, everyone's just like clapping and stuff. They're like, welcome back.
Yeah.
A little big thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who were my mentors there that welcomed me back.
Yeah, well, that's good. Do you miss your other job? I know you showed me some insane houses when you're doing those appraisals.
I do miss, like, the driving. Like, I wish it wasn't my car, and I probably would have still been there.
Okay.
But like the driving, I love driving,
Yeah.
and so I was always out in the high desert. I was always out in the low desert.
Yeah. Can you tell the listeners a little bit about like what you were doing before?
Yeah, I was a property inspector, and I was insurance liaison for about 20 different insurance companies. Anything from State Farm to Pacific Coastal to, whoever has house insurance.
Yeah.
So basically, I went out to these houses and I inspected them, make sure that the foundation was good, make sure that the house was suitable to, for the tenant or for the owner to live in.
Okay.
Usually, it was for new purchases or renewal of policies, and then I also did it for banks too. I also did like commercial buildings. So I inspected commercial buildings, make sure everything was up to code. And then I also appraised a few buildings too.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were showing me pictures, and you were showing me like multi-million-dollar homes,
Yeah, I got
like compounds.
Yeah,
Like,
those are a trip to be in. Let me tell you. Like at first, it started off with Redlands and around the area, Pomona, like $500,000, $800,000 homes, which are nice homes. And then everyone in the desert areas quit. So then I slowly did that area, and every house out there is like over $1 million.
wow.
Yeah, and I was doing houses from like Palm Springs all the way to Indio.
That's crazy. And
And
too bad you don't get paid $1 million for that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
and then I occasionally I would go out further. Like I went out to Needles a couple times, and then I went out to.
Did you ever go to Mammoth? Was that a
no.
trip? Oh no, okay.
No, I pretty much just did Southern California.
Got you.
Went to Calexico a couple times, which was sketchy.
Sketchy?
Yeah, 'cause it's a border city by El Centro.
Got you.
And then actually, which is crazy, I took my mom with me this time. I appraised a Walgreens or a CVS in Calexico, which was, I'm not even kidding you, like the border was across the street. Yeah, it was really,
Dang.
it was crazy. It was like a block away across the street.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know they got tunnels.
Yeah.
These people are coming out of the bathroom like, how many of these, how did all these people fit in one bathroom?
Yeah.
They got tunnels leading to the bathroom, for sure.
Yeah, so I went up to Needles. I did one house in Needles, which was like an $11.1 million compound right off the Colorado River.
Really?
Yeah, it had its own private bay and private beach. And then it had its own bar on the beach, like tiki bar.
Really?
And then the house had two bars. It had a guest bar, and then it had a bar next to the kitchen. It was like a wet bar, but it was like a full-size bar.
Wow.
Like maybe half the size of the one at Top Dog.
Really?
Yeah, it was pretty big.
I don't know how these people get insanely rich to get all this, Like,
Yeah.
the majority of us work our tails off for not even a fraction, not even a percent of what these people do.
I've met some interesting people through it though. Like,
Yeah?
Yeah. Like the guy that lived in Needles, he did commercial real estate, but he's like the top producer. He doesn't live here. He's like in Idaho.
Yeah. I mean, I know one of our friends, Keith Bua,
Yeah.
he's a commercial real estate agent, and he became successful just within a few years.
Yeah.
And what I mean by successful, folks, is like, I mean, he drives a Lambo. He goes on boats all the time. Like,
Yeah.
a lot of his posts are just like him running, just like staying fit, just living his lifestyle that he wants to live,
Right.
And I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
Honestly, like he doesn't really like show off that much. It's just
Right.
like a picture of him running with just him just doing his thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's very few successful people that I know of, that are in our like friend group or circle or like era, you know what I mean? Like in our ages. But definitely there's a lot of us that are going to rise from the bottom,
Right.
And
There's a lot who did too, like the Stibbe brothers.
yeah.
Stibbe
Brothers are rocking hard.
What's their names? The brothers,
Which ones?
the ones that came on. They did.
Oh, Rami
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Zayd.
Yeah.
Zayd's
right.
doing really good. And so is Blake.
Blake. Oh yeah, Blake Vesmendez.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think they did an interview with the guy, and I think their net worth is like 15 million now.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
crazy.
And that's only within like 4 years.
Yeah.
Actually, less than 4 years, because a couple months ago, I think it was in October, they came in to the Tartan. I was like, "Hey, what's up, dude?" And they're like, "Yeah, we're celebrating our third year." I was like, "Wow, 3 years, $15 million in net worth. That's you gotta be doing something right, you
Right,
know."
yeah.
But I remember when they first started, like, they literally would have like 2 to 4 hours of sleep every day
Uh-huh.
for like months and months on end. And people would ask them, like, "Do you guys ever sleep? Like, how do you guys stay, active and all this stuff?" and they just doubled down. You know, they knew what was coming in the future. You know, and like one of my favorite sayings is like it's in the Bible, and it talks about like your suffering now doesn't even compare to like your success and well, and the Bible is talking about heaven, but just generally speaking, you know what I mean? Like when I go to the gym, like it sucks. Like I'm tired. I don't want to do it. But then it's like all that struggle doesn't even compare to like how great I feel after, you know, even like running a business and stuff. And I'll be honest with you, when my business partner called me, so what happened was, dude, I was ready to go to war, not with my business partner, but these guys, Pacific Stereo, I highly do not recommend them to do any of your like services for like stereo or GPS or anything like that. Because we went there a couple times, but it was the last vehicle where they literally lied to me and they stole from me and they ripped me off. Like it was just like a whole nine, right? And so I found out about a month later some more information about like our vehicles and like what they did. So I was like, I can't let this fly, you know. And I was ready to go to court with them. I was ready to do this, do that. Like I was getting all paperwork, affidavits, like, you know, getting everything done. And I was calling my business partner, and he was like, before we get into all that, he's like, I'm gonna opt out of the business. I was like, no kidding. He was like, yeah. You know, he works like 70 hours a week, not in the business, but like, you know, his job. And so like on top of that, he's doing car rentals. Like it was so much for him. Like he was getting 2 to 4 hours of sleep, you know? And it was just like one thing after another. And we're putting our own money into the business. And it was just like, it was hard to keep it, you know.
It wasn't what you guys expected.
And most things aren't, you know. But at the end of the day, at the rate that we're going, it would be a long time before we could even compete with like the competitors that we wanted to compete with, you know?
Yeah.
And so I asked him, I was like, is this a thought or is this a decision? And he's like, it's a decision. I was like, all right, fair enough. Now we got to adjust, you know, adjust to the lifestyle, you know, shut down the business and all this stuff. But I do think, you know, there's that saying, that Chinese farmer story that I always talk about, which I know you heard it, Kyle, but for our listeners, I'm going to tell you guys the Chinese story, okay? So basically how it goes, there was this Chinese farmer, and he had a horse. The horse ran away. Neighbors came by. They're like, wow, that sucks. Like, you lost your horse. And he was like, maybe. Well, the next day, that horse came back with, like, 5 other wild horses, you know, or Mustangs or whatever you want to call it. And then the neighbors came, and they're like, oh, my gosh, you're so lucky. You got more horses. He was like, maybe. And then he had a son. He told his son, hey, go train some of the wild horses. Go tame them. Well, son came back, and his leg was broken. Neighbors came by like, oh, man, that sucks. Your son's leg is broken. And he was like, maybe. Well, during that time, the Chinese was at war, so they came to the farmhouse. They're like, hey, we need your son to fight the war. And then they looked at the son. He had a broken leg. They're like, never mind.
Yeah.
And then, you know, neighbors came, oh, my gosh, you're so lucky. Your son didn't have to fight the war. And the whole purpose of this story is that you never know when things are actually good or when things are actually bad.
Yeah.
You know?
And sometimes it takes an outside perspective, too.
It does, yeah, most of the time. And so, like, although I'm not doing real estate anymore and I'm not going to be doing the car rental business, like, oh, man, that sucks, you know? Maybe. You know, like, it really freed up my mind.
That takes a lot of stress off you.
Oh, so much stress.
Especially when people ask you, like, oh, that's so cool, like real estate. And you're like, have you tried it?
I mean, I used to brag about it, to be honest. Like, I used to encourage people, like, get your license just so you can understand it, you know?
Yeah.
And that's the sole purpose why I did it, to understand the game. I mean, most millionaires have a real estate portfolio. So it's like, if that's where I want, if that's where, like, my achievements at is to be, like, a multimillionaire or whatever, or even a billionaire, you know? I got to understand what they're doing. And most of them, majority of them, is real estate. So I was like, okay. And it is tough, especially now, to, like, afford one or even, you know, be able to like keep affording it because, you know, fire insurance,
Yep.
you know, all this doesn't even have to be the house itself. You got property taxes, you got fire insurance, you got just like
You got home
depreciation,
insurance, which is different.
home insurance, you got your house falling apart if you're not taking care of it, you know? And so it's a lot. But
Property management.
you know, if you stay focused and you understand what you need to do and you prepare for it, you know, things can go your way. I mean, I know people who were like, yeah, real estate was the best decision we've made, you know? And so now it's like, okay, now that I understand the game, now I want to start playing the game,
Yeah.
you know? And there's certain things that I got to do to qualify and, you know, but if you have people willing to join in, or if you have the resources, or even just the money, you know, which I don't have the money, but I have people and I have resources. So it's like, okay, now we can start, you know, making those connections, start talking, you know, and maybe kind of do something in those lines, you know, because I don't want to be just serving.
Right.
You know, for over 5 years, like when I turned like 18, I started having like 2 jobs and a side hustle, you know, and people say to live in California, you got to have 2 jobs and a side hustle. You know what I mean? And on top of that, you know, my last name is Works. So it's like that.
So you got to work.
I got to work, dude. I got to
the
work.
name.
And that might have, you know, that instilled a good like drive in me, you know?
That's crazy because you and the rest of your siblings, they all work
We all work too much.
too much.
You know, Timmy, I called Timmy the other day and he was like, "Oh, I just left work. I'm on my way to my other job."
Uh-huh.
I was like, that sucks, dude. Like really, you
But
know?
he prefers it. He doesn't have to have
He does. He does prefer it. He was like, if I'm not making money, I'm spending money. I'm like, bro, you don't have to spend money.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard not to, but
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. He's a character.
Yeah.
You know,
Your sister's working overseas.
I am so sad, bro, because she's supposed to go with me to visit my dad for his birthday. And she requested the time off. And, you know, she's in the Coast Guard, for those who don't know. But she's out at sea, and her ship is down. And they're like, oh, and I'm leaving on the 23rd to the 28th. She's like, I won't get back until the 28th. I'm like, that sucks, you know? But we got to keep moving forward. You got to keep pushing it. And it's just interesting with the military specifically, from the stories that I heard from JC, who was in the Marines, and Rhiannon from the Coast Guard. You know, when a job needs to get done, like regardless is going to get done, you know, even if it's not done properly. It's just like a timely manner.
Yeah.
You know, chain of command says, hey, this boat needs to be fixed in 2 weeks, when in reality it's like a month job to do, you know. But you got to follow orders. They're like, all right, 2 weeks, whatever works, you know. However we have to get it done, it has to get done in 2 weeks. And so I think that's what happened. They didn't dry dock the boat. They had like the boat like half submerged in the water, and they were working on it, thinking that they can do it without being in it dry docked, and it caused more problems. So when they were actually out in sea, you know, now it's broken again, and now they got it, you know. So she's out there for a little bit, but honestly, you know, she likes the Coast Guard. It's a good time for her.
Yeah.
You know, it's good. All right, guys, it is the bottom half of the hour. We are going to take a quick 5-minute break, but when we come back, we're just going to keep chopping it up and talk about whatever works. You guys are listening to Whatever Works on KCAA 1050 AM and Express 106.5 FM. We'll be back in 5 minutes.
Hey, feeling good, like I should. When in dark, walk around the neighborhood. Feeling blessed, never stressed. Got that sunshine on my Sunday best.
Here's a progressive idea I picked up from the unlikeliest of sources: corporate CEOs. For decades, these chieftains of our economic order have been steadily implementing a very visionary process for establishing corporate wage levels. The essence of it is this: let workers set their own pay. Since the 1970s, when the idea began taking hold in corporate America, pay levels have zoomed up by more than 1,000%. Well, not for you. This set-your-own-pay movement has only been available to top corporate executives, whose median paychecks now top $16 million a year. But since it's been such a boon for this test group, I say it's time to expand the no-hassle compensation concept to all employees. This would greatly boost grassroots purchasing power, economic growth, and fairness for all. Oh my God, no, squawk corporate apologists, rushing to say that technically CEOs do not directly set their pay. Rather, the bosses have attached their earnings to their corporation's ever-rising stock prices. Thus, astronomical rewards go to those who obsessively focus on jacking up the price of their own stock, even though that's a selfishly narrow and false measure of a corporation's performance. Also, stock price is no indicator of a CEO's worthiness. Even bosses who are blockheads can still get a boost simply because they've rigged the system to hitch a free ride on inflated stock value. This is Jim Hightower saying, still, if it's good enough for them, why not an equal deal for working stiffs who actually deliver the products and services that give a corporation some true value? I say each worker should get the same percentage increase in pay that the top honcho takes. It's a very simple process, and it's only fair. The Hightower Radio Lowdown is made possible by you subscribers to Jim Hightower's Lowdown on Substack. Find us at jimhightower.substack.com.
KCAA,
where life's much better. So download the app in your smart device today. Listen everywhere and anywhere. Whether you're in Southern California, Texas, or sailing on the Gulf of Mexico, life's a breeze with KCAA. Download the app in your smart device today.
I'll be sailing out of yesterday in the Gulf of Mexico.
KCAA.
Tune into the Ferran Dozier Show. Music marks place and time, the soundtrack to life. Sunday nights at 8 p.m. on KCAA Radio. Playing the hottest hits and the coolest conversations. Sunday nights at 8 p.m. on the Ferran Dozier Show. With an array of music, talk, sports, community outreach, and veteran resources. With hits from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and today's hits. The Ferran Dozier Show on KCAA Radio, on all available streaming platforms, and 106.5 FM and 1050 AM. The Ferran Dozier Show on KCAA Radio.
This segment is sponsored by our radio listening post in Yucaipa, Yucaipa Farm Fresh Produce, where you can get healthy in the heart of Yucaipa. You'll find locally sourced fresh fruit, vegetables, farm eggs, honey, fresh bread, nuts, and for your sweet tooth, delicious ice cream and locally produced candy from licorice to chocolates, all to your heart's content. It's Yucaipa Farm Fresh Produce, just down the street from Toscano's Pizza, between 13th and 14th on Yucaipa Boulevard. Open every day, weekdays from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. and on weekends to 5 p.m. For more info, you can call 909-790-6106. That's 909-790-6106. Shop local with Yucaipa Farm Fresh Produce. Tell them you heard it on this radio station and saw it on the DNA advertising screen inside the store. It's Yucaipa Farm Fresh Produce.
Hey, feeling good, like I should. When in dark, I walk around the neighborhood. Feeling blessed, never stressed. Got that sunshine on my Sunday best.
Welcome back, everybody. You're listening to Whatever Works on KCA 1050 AM and Express 106.5 FM. I'm your host, Sam Works. Sorry, I thought I already said it. I was waiting for your cue. Anyways, go on.
And I'm Kyle Kerrigan.
The other host of the show. And we also have Mr. Westwood here in the studio.
Slightly off camera.
Slightly.
Yeah.
He's poking his head, you know.
I'm here.
Yeah, he is here.
Feeling good.
Yeah, as
Like
you
I
should,
should.
right? You are feeling good, right?
I'm feeling good now.
Now, feeling better.
Feeling a little
Right.
better, yeah.
You know, it's very interesting how like so many things can happen like
Twist,
drastically,
turn, yep.
but also
They can improve
they can improve drastically as well.
drastically as well, yeah.
I think the funniest one was when you told me about the mail. That was so funny.
That is good. Well, you're going to have to let your listeners in on this since you're referring to all this stuff.
Be my guest.
So I'm not going to say a lot about it because there's some legalities and alleged and all this kind of stuff. I'm the victim. I had my car stolen yesterday, and I felt like I got my, my gut punched in when I heard my car stolen out of my own driveway, ripping down the road. Somebody took my car, and and with it was my cell phone, actually 2 other cell phones and a laptop, and but blessings. I did the car show here yesterday. Remember, I had all that stuff in the back of my car and loaded it all up and brought it all over here. And I was thinking yesterday, maybe I'll just take that all back. I could have had all that DJ equipment in the back of my car, too.
Wow.
That's sitting in my office right now.
Wow.
Hopefully. I haven't
Yeah, I
seen
know, right?
the way things been going. But so I got my car stolen, and I had to go knocking on my neighbor's door. I didn't have a car to report it. But some good things started to turn on that. Right away, it started to turn. And, I was lamenting, and I said, they even got my placard, my senior citizens privilege parking placard.
Handicap placard.
I hate to say that, but okay, yeah. Anyway, and, I was like, oh, my gosh. So long story made short, I called really quickly, and I got to commend the Yucaipa Police Department. And this lady's name, you know what, I should pull her name out of my back pocket here. Give me a minute. And commend her because, you know what? Oh, it's in my side pocket here. Just a second here. Ladies and gentlemen, little pause here. All right. Now, you can hear keys. Those aren't car keys. But I want to commend Officer. She was very nice. Deputy Hamlin. N. Hamlin. Okay. They were there within 10 minutes when I called the police. The Yucaipa Sheriff's Department was. Good job. And, they weren't running in hot pursuit, which I wish they would have done. But, I was like, go down the freeway. They're going to be down the freeway. I know that. But they had a helicopter in the air within 20 minutes looking around my neighborhood for that car. And it helped. I had the insurance in the back of my insurance. I had the license plate number and everything on there. Always carry that around your wallet. I think that's a good idea. And, they didn't find it. I went to bed last night just panicking. They had my cell phone. They had my car. They had all my private information. I actually came down to the radio station last night, worked in the wee hours of the morning changing passwords on bank accounts, PayPal accounts, you name it, Who knows? They could have got on my social media, whatever.
Yeah.
So worked, did all that, and then forgot half the passwords, by the way.
As we usually do.
As we usually do. The password thing is crazy. And this morning, 7 o'clock in the morning, I gave him Sam's phone number because I didn't have a phone. They couldn't contact me. So I gave him Sam's phone number. And by the way, Sam is my housemate. He has a room down the hallway from me. And he gets the phone call, knocks on my door, and it's a deputy sheriff from the Victorville substation. And they had found the guy at 3 a.m. in the morning. License plate readers. You want to steal a car? Yeah. They have all these license plate scanners now. All over the place. There's stoplights and everything. They put my car in and, fresh stolen into the license plate scanners. And they caught the dude. Arrested him. He's in jail now. Feeling good, like I should. In the neighborhood. Well, it wasn't quite in the neighborhood. It was in Victorville, but they did an outstanding job. My car is in impound right now. It has a little timeout. My poor girl went on an adventure, or a misadventure. But I can pick it up tomorrow because they'll be open again. That was good. I had insurance for the cell phone. I'm going to see what the car looks like tomorrow. See, I got good insurance. I kept that all up too. So, things are working all out. And then the tail end of the whole thing, as I had said to Sam, they even got my privileged parking pass there and the handicap placard. And in my mailbox was the handicap placard for next year.
Wow.
Sam's got a handicap placard in his car right now
Yeah.
because it goes with the person who has the handicap.
Yep. Fully renewed.
Fully renewed.
There you go.
So that would be funny if they got a ticket because they parked in handicap because your handicap placard was expired.
Only if the ticket's at the jail.
Yeah.
That's Grand Theft Auto, buddy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That was a really stupid move. Stupid move.
And another funny thing about this whole situation, you know, like he's so stressed out, right? Mark was so stressed out last night. I mean,
it was a long day yesterday because I did the whole car rally down here
like
too.
6 a.m. in the morning, and then
Right.
he was up until like 5, so he was almost up for a full 24 hours. And I woke him up at like 7 because the deputy
That's why I'm
called me.
kicked back in this nice easy chair right now off the side of the studio.
Yeah.
I was sleeping to the first part, I'll be honest with you. What you
okay.
guys talk about?
And honestly, he's, you know, I would have slept through that. I don't know why I woke up so early from that phone call, and then also said no caller ID, so I almost didn't answer it.
Yeah.
And then they're like, "Oh, is this Mark Westwood?" I was like, "Yeah." And then he started asking me questions. I was like, "Actually, I'm his caretaker. Let me go. Let me go wake him up. Let me go get him." So I pretended I was you for like 2 seconds.
Yeah. Well, I want to commend the deputy. He was very excited over Victorville because he got this stolen car. He's very excited at 7 a.m. this morning, and I'm trying to stay awake. Answer all these questions. They ask you a bunch of questions that he says, now they're going to be stupid questions, but I'm going to ask you anyway.
Yeah.
What's your birthday? And I told him my birthday about 3 times, told him my name about 3 times. And then he said, did you give him permission to take the car? I'm like, absolutely not. You know, and you know, all this kind of stuff. And yeah, I said prosecute the full extent of law and turn him over to ICE if he's not a citizen. Let me just put it that way.
Yeah, but this whole time, so he has a cat, a lovely cat named Dolly, and she usually like sleeps with him in bed, right? And so last night he goes into his room. He's like, "Where's Dolly?" And like him being so stressed out, like there was a split second in his head was like, he took Dolly too, you know, like he thought he took his cat.
You could take my car, you could take my cell phones, but don't you take my
You
cat.
don't take my cat. Oh man. So I thought that was pretty funny. You know, when people are under immense stress, you know, thoughts can just run wild.
Yeah.
You know, and so.
So I'm relaxed today. That's why I'm a little over here. If you hear some snoring, it's because I've been trying to stay awake, and I have been tired. By the way, I want to talk about that car show. Let's do some positive stuff here.
All right.
That car show was outstanding yesterday. Over 750 entries, classic cars, vintage cars, I say some street machines, and motorcycles, and there was just people everywhere, union people everywhere having a good time. There were 3 or 4 Teamster unions here.
Wow.
I kind of got a chuckle because, you know, Randy Corrigan's kind of proud of this little studios in this place, you know. So every time I turned around, he was coming through the hallway. I was meeting new people, big wigs from the Teamsters and the union people. Probably, I wouldn't, you know, if I was a union person, wouldn't have met for years. But you know, I'm meeting all these people, and they'll ask me if I can tell you their names. But anyway, no, it was the easiest remote setup I've ever done for a radio station, because literally we set our equipment up like 10 feet outside the door. And if you know our station, there's a door that goes in the back side of the station. That's literally where Joe's sitting right now, maybe 10 feet away from the door. There's a patio, and you go out that patio, and then there's you know, a place where we sat up. So I just set up and did the sound out there, and I didn't have to hook up the radio station or anything. And then every, you know, so often I'd just run down the stairs, run in the studio, turn the Simeon down. Hey, we're live from, you know, KCA 1050 AM 106.5 FM. I'm Mark Westwood. And we got the car show going on right now, all kinds of stuff, you know. And we did the, you know, they had 2 In-N-Out burgers.
Semi-trucks.
Oh, they had semi-trucks with Teamsters. And this was the greatest thing. They parked those semi-trucks across the street so people couldn't drive through. And trucks, big Teamsters logos on the side of it. Then they had a trailer down there that said Teamsters. I think it's 836. I'm not sure. And then they had, you know, 939 and 245. And you know, I'm getting all these numbers wrong. I only remember Teamsters 1932 because it's the best. The best union, 16,000 union members. But Randy Corrigan leading this group and this troop, and it was organized. It was great. That whole parking lot over by the courthouse, completely filled with vendors. Just vendors.
Wow.
Then they had a beer garden with entertainment on the other side of the building and tables all set up over there. It was really nice. It was really nice.
Yeah.
Weather was great too.
For the time that I was there, I saw a lot of awesome cars and a lot of classics. And at one point, I was kind of a little like, I would say like down a little bit because like all the people who are driving these classic cars, right? You know, part of history. I mean, they're
Classic too.
yeah, honestly. And it's like who's gonna carry those on, you know? Like I saw this one classic car literally towing a like a wheelchair, like electric wheelchair, you know? 'Cause,
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
you know? And it's like, man, I wonder like in the next 10, 20 years like if, you know, the younger generation is going to carry on the classics.
It was kind of funny. I saw online they have these new, you know how they have these little carts that they drive around in, little motorized carts. Older people tend to ride in those, right? They had ones that looked just like classic VW vans.
Really?
And they were like in this car show. It's pretty cool.
Wow. Yeah, have you actually seen the new Volkswagen vans?
Yeah, they're interesting.
Yeah, they're pretty interesting. They're
All
expensive.
electric.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All
but
electric.
it's like the 1969 hippie vans. They just brought them back and modernized it and made it electric.
And put a $65,000 price tag on it.
Yeah, no kidding. They're like, talk about style, man. Look at that price tag. That's crazy. But then again, you know, just cars in general, especially these new.
But those new VW vans, by the way, go over 800 miles.
really,
Really?
Yeah. 800 miles without being recharged.
That's crazy.
that's a mic drop right there. 800 miles
Mm-hmm. That's their claim.
saves you a lot of money.
And they have the same kind of lines as the old classic VW buses, same kind of colors and
Yeah.
all that stuff. It's cool. The front looks different.
Slightly, yeah.
Yeah.
A little more quote unquote modern, but they wanted to give that look to bring it back, you know.
Right, and just like the old classic VW vans, the motor's not in front. This time there's no motor, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
but all the electrical stuff's, in the back too, so that's pretty cool.
I think it's interesting, not even just with vehicles, but in like movies and even like clothes styles. People always bring back like the 70s, the 80s, the 90s. It's like, yeah, we have our new edition of like fashion, but then we always bring back the old fashion.
You know why?
Because old is better.
When things are good, they're always good. Things are bad, they ain't gonna ever be better.
Yeah, they don't last.
They don't last, but when things are good, they're always good.
That's interesting.
I'm gonna put my shoes back on. I got people coming in the studio. Here I am, the general manager, kicking back in the chair here.
I know.
Shoes off,
Yeah.
in shorts. I wasn't planning on being here. I'm riding around with Sam today because I don't have a car.
Yeah.
So I had to pick Sam up from work, and
Yeah.
how that goes. So just ride
I,
on.
I'm actually surprised that you found parking, to be honest.
Yeah, because of the bicycle classic down
the
Redlands.
Bicycle Classic, yeah.
Lots going on here. Lots going on.
Yeah, there is events in almost every city this past month, and even Easter, like that's another thing. I had my JC and the family, the kids, they all came down from San Diego this weekend, and
That sounds like a music group, JC and the Family.
yeah, JC and the family and the kids plus 3.
JC and the Family Stone.
There you go. That's why it sounds like a music group.
But they came out and they did. I think they did a morning and an evening, like Easter egg hunt, like in different locations, because everyone's celebrating Easter and all that.
They're already celebrating Easter now?
Yeah, like in Yucaipa and stuff. Like,
Easter's like the 20th.
yeah, I know it's like weeks in advance.
No, what's the date? It is the 12th?
Today's the 13th. It's actually
13th, so it's not too long.
Yeah, it's 1 week exactly.
Yeah.
So, by the way, happy birthday, Dad! Turning 51. For most people, they're like, "Dang, that's old." Other people,
Your
they're
dad's 51, that's right.
like, yeah, he's 51 today.
Happy
birthday, Dad.
birthday.
Yeah. Hey, you guys can share a beer.
Sad Joe Picano in the booth over here is like, your dad's younger than me. Oh my gosh. Liam is his name, correct?
No, it's Timothy Scott.
Timothy Scott. Okay.
Yeah. Liam
Timothy's-
is Timmy's.
Timmy's. Yeah. Okay. How that
Timmy,
worked out.
Timmy, Liam, Scott. They gets all a little mixed up and
Yeah.
Jones.
Sam and the family works.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm actually super excited. I'm gonna go see him. He didn't want me to come down to Michigan, so because just the weather and everything, and where he's living, it's not really like a place to go and visit. Like Flint, Michigan. I don't know if you ever heard of Flint.
Yeah, it's right next to Detroit, I think, or something.
Yeah, yeah. It's just, we can go somewhere else.
There's some nice stuff over there.
Yeah.
Don't discount all that.
Well,
It's nice
Michigan's
out
a beautiful state. Don't get me
there.
wrong.
Right. And it's spring. It could have
Right.
gone up there, but
Each block is different. Actually, right now it's winter for them.
But you decided to go together to Florida
Yes. Yeah.
by way of Texas.
Huh?
By way of Texas.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's a whole other story.
It is. But, my dad told me, he was like, son, when you see palm trees, it doesn't really mean anything to you. But palm trees is very sentimental to me. And he's never been to Florida. He always wanted to go.
You talk on the microphone. You're like kind of away from the microphone. I can
okay.
tell. Okay.
Yeah, so he, there's a bunch of movies that he's seen as a kid where they shoot films over in Florida and stuff. And he's always wanted to go when he was a kid. And we did something for my mom's birthday for her 50th. So I was like, well, we got to do something for Dad,
When your dad grew up, he was watching a TV series called Flipper down in Florida. And I'm sure he fell in love. You ask him about Flipper.
Okay.
They call him Flipper. Joe's laughing because he knows what it is.
Well, he's doing the little...
Flipper was a dolphin. It was a TV show about a dolphin and a couple of kids and a dad that was a ranger in the Florida Everglades. Because all Florida has is Everglades, swampland, and Disneyland. Should just come to California.
Yeah. And he's, I think for my birthday I had him come out here. But he doesn't like flying planes, so when he came out to visit us, he drove from Michigan to California. And he doesn't mind it. But I'm like, Dad, I don't know if your car can survive that long of a trip,
You've never driven across country? I've told you.
I've driven to Illinois. I mean,
Oh,
not
so
me specifically driving, but yeah, my
But so
family.
you saw the difference
Yeah.
between being in Southern California in this mass metropolis, and you drive outside of Southern California, and it's like
Open land.
it's another Home Depot, an Arco, and a Stuckey's.
Stuckey's.
You know what Stuckey's is?
No, I don't.
It's a restaurant chain. It's like a little coffee. It's kind of like Denny's. It's called Stuckey's. It's a truck stop. Well, truckers like to go to Stuckey's.
Kind of like Waffle House?
Are you talking about Buc-ee's?
No, Stuckey's. It's called Stuckey's.
Okay, because there's one called Buc-ee's too.
Well,
in
maybe
Texas.
it's a knockoff on Stuckey's. But Stuckey's has been around forever. You know what Stuckey's is, Ken? Kyle's dad? Yeah, Stuckey's.
Yeah.
Yeah. Got to take a trip. If you've never done that, folks, take a trip and go across country. Lots of land, lots of
I
open
recommended
land.
it once.
Yeah. Once.
Just one
did it.
time. You experienced one time.
Well, don't do it all in one day or try to do it all in one day. You take 3, 4, 5, 6 days to do it, and you'll realize how big the United States is, how much we have to offer and how much resources we have. And, you drive, and about every 3, 4 hours, the whole scenery, the landscape changes.
Yeah.
You're going through Flagstaff, Grand Canyon, into Colorado, the Rockies, up into the Midwest and Kansas, maybe across, go through Chicago. Chicago's breathtaking. And then, Indiana, all that. Great territory.
Yeah. I mean, my family, we always go north and south. We'll go from California to, like, Washington because we have family in Washington and Oregon and stuff. So, like, we always went that direction. But, my dad's parents, they lived in Illinois and Kentucky, so that's kind of like where the buck stops, So.
America the beautiful.
Yeah, so we only have about 2 minutes, you guys. So
You don't want me to sing here? I thought this was a karaoke show. I'll do that one day.
yeah, someone asked me today. They're like, "Oh, where are you going to karaoke?" Yeah, I'm just kidding. Yeah, and I'm like, I haven't karaokeed in a while. Maybe we should all just go karaoke.
Yeah, or just get a laptop, get Carafun out.
Yeah, have a Sunday night show, just karaoke.
So I logged on to Carafun. I haven't used that in months, and I had gone out of that account. And when I checked my account last night, I checked my computer for the one that got stolen, which I'm hopefully getting back, for the car show. And I logged into my account for Carafun just to see, I logged into the program on my computer, and it took money out of my bank account.
Oh, my gosh.
Just
crazy.
like that.
Just like
Boom.
that. Very quick. All right, you guys. Well, I want to thank everyone who's listening. Enjoy your Sunday. Stay tuned for the next show at 5 o'clock. You guys are listening on KCAA 10:50 a.m. and Express 106.5. I'm your host, Sam Works.
I'm Kyle Kerrigan.
I'm Mark Westwood.
And we'll see you guys next Sunday. Have a blessed day. Thank you.
Got that sunshine on my Sunday best. Yeah, hey, every day can be a better day despite the challenge. All you gotta do is leave it better than you found it. It's gonna get difficult to stand, but hold your balance. I just say whatever, cause there is no way you're round.
A journey of 1,000 words begins here. KCAA.
In these trying times, many people are depressed and lost because the future of our society is up in the air. If you're turning to substance abuse because you're feeling there is no hope, we have a way for you to see the light. SAD, or Stop Abusing Drugs, is a nonprofit organization that will help you at no cost to you stop abusing drugs. Founded by Tony